I work with a lot of early podcasters, so for me, I remember that. I remember what it's like to not be able to get guests. I remember what it's like not to be able to get on shows. I remember I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. I have so much empathy for that.
That's how I empathize, is I try to go to where people are. I've realized recently that I'm not quite as good at that as I thought, but I try hard to do that.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode number 1412, an open conversation about money, all about that moolah. Today, for episode number 1413, why empathy is so important in your relationships. Was talking to somebody recently, and they said, you've grown a lot, you've evolved a lot. It must be getting weird when you look back to your past and you connect with people and you think about old relationships and you think about old friendships and you see people that you haven't seen in a long time. And I said, why do you say that? And they said, it must be hard for you to not understand why they're not growing. It must be really hard for you not to want to push them to grow more. It must be really hard for you. And they said, no, they didn't say judge, but they said, how do you not judge that even a little bit? And I said, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't really think of it. And I dug and I said, honestly, I have empathy for the fact that growth is really, really, really hard. I mean, of course, not everybody's going to grow to the rate that you do, or I do, or if you're watching or listening, not everybody is going to grow to the rate that you have, because imagine how difficult it's been to grow. I have empathy for the fact that some people right now, growth is getting through where they are. I really do. I don't expect everybody to grow. I don't expect everybody to read. I don't expect everybody to listen to podcasts. I just don't. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe that's just pessimistic. I don't know. But I have empathy for the fact that some people getting through the day is the growth. For some people, getting through the day is the mud. And if you can use empathy in your relationship, so I pulled up the definition of it. The ability to sense other people's emotions coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling. That, of course, if you're scarce all the time, it's going to be very, very challenging for you to say, you know what, I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone and go to an event, or I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone and hire a coach. I completely understand that now more than ever, just because of how challenging this episode has been. So my question to start this episode is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much empathy are you practicing towards the people that you care about? And what could you do to increase it if you're not happy with the number that you see when you look in the mirror?
I would say for me, Kev, sometimes I do struggle with that. Sometimes I do struggle with, why aren't people reading more books? Why aren't people taking more opportunities? Why are people making so many excuses? I know some people who grew up in unbelievably difficult situations, adopted, beaten, molested, sexually abused, that end up creating growth-oriented, magnificent, contribution-driven lives.
Definitely.
And I know some people who, quite frankly, have had it quite easy. And some of those people who have had it quite easy don't end up doing much with that. And I've also seen both ends of both of those coins too. You know, some people that have also been abused and had really tough upbringings that end up doing very little. And some people who had great upbringings that end up doing a lot. So it's every part of that spectrum. I've seen all of that. Sometimes I do struggle with that, for sure. Because when you live this growth-oriented life where you track habits every day, and our whole world is an echo chamber of growth-oriented goal dream chasers. And so what Kevin and I talked about prior to this episode that I want to focus on is all I have to do to get out of that place of judgment or being overly critical or being non-empathetic in this case, is remember what it was like for me. Remember when I was drinking too much and too often. Remember the mistakes that I've made. Remember the weaknesses that I have. And I think that when you really look at all of I think that personal development is looking at all of who you are. It's looking at all the good, all the gifts, all the greatness, all the amazingness, all of it. But also looking at all the weaknesses, all the struggles, all the mistakes, all the failures. I think that is what creates a holistic, self-aware person. And I think some people are overly focused on all the negative stuff about themselves, and some people are overly focused on all the great about themselves. And it's very difficult to stay at 5 and to look at all of it from a 360-degree lens. If you're only looking at one half of the equation, you're only looking at 180 degrees, you're not going to understand yourself very well. And more importantly, to the point of this episode is, whenever I have felt... I had a client once who was struggling to make her bed in the morning, struggling to clean her room, struggling to do even the most basic things. I had to take a moment and look back and think back to some of my darkest moments where I couldn't even get out of bed. Because Kev, you and I used to talk about how I used to have tough months, tough years, tough weeks. I remember I would have like a bad week where I would like barely accomplish anything for an entire week. And nowadays, you and I have tough mornings, tough evenings, tough days here and there, but usually we're back at it like pretty quick. We get back on the horse fairly fast, all things considered. And my therapist said, I've never seen someone who's been through as much as you've been through who functions the way you do. But it didn't start out with like, oh yeah, I'm back. Oh, I'm back. Oh, I'm back. I remember I used to spend days in bed. And so for me, that's what does it for me, is just remember what it was like back then. Because nowadays, it's not that relatable. I mean, seriously. It's not that relatable. I have a housekeeper. We work from home. So for me, that's how I've created empathy, is realizing that a lot of what we do and the way we operate now isn't that empathetic naturally. It's not easily relatable. And some of it is, of course, right? Everyone has challenges and struggles, and I still, don't want to do certain things. I still procrastinate certain things. I still struggle with everything that I've always struggled with. I still struggle with. It's just to a lesser extent or in a different way. But there are certain things about you and I's lives, Kev, that aren't really relatable to some people. Our challenges are very different. How do we gross $1 million? How do we build $1 billion business? How do we serve our clients at a deeper level? How do we make this podcast even more valuable? How do we not say like, or, in between? That's our challenges now. They're still challenges, but they're much nicer than the challenges I used to have, which that's my point. So for me, I remember what it was like to not be able to go to the gym. This will be a perfect example, and this will be the end of my monologue. I remember, now I exercise every day. I can actually say that I exercise every single day for over 500 days now. It would be hard for me to empathize with someone who can't go to the gym, who struggles to exercise, unless I remembered how much I struggled. Yep. Because for me now, it is pretty automatic. And there's something for you out there listening that's automatic that I struggle with. Maybe you stretch every day. I definitely don't. I need to. I should. I don't want to say I wish I could. Obviously I can, but I don't. So what's easy for you is hard for me. What's easy for me is hard for you. That's another lens of empathy, for sure. Yeah. And what I would say is, I remember going to the gym after letting myself go, crying in the bathroom, and then leaving the gym. When I remember that, it's like, okay, I could see why. And so for me, that's what I would recommend is, it's very easy to lose sight of how hard things used to be if you're not consistently level setting yourself about that, I have an 18-year-old client, so I have to put myself back at 18, and I'm blown away by him. I'm not blown away by him compared to me now. I'm 34. You shouldn't be as smart as me. You shouldn't be as well developed as me. You shouldn't be as emotionally intelligent as me. You shouldn't be all those things. You're 18, but compared to me at 18, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's how I empathize. Is I try to go to where people are. I've realized recently that I'm not quite as good at that as I thought, but I try hard to do that.
Yeah, but the interesting son of a bee. You haven't been where a lot of people are. I mean, you've had your own things. You can only empathize to the level that you've experienced it. You hear me say this all the time. I say this on the team. I can understand to the level that I can understand. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's like to be a mom. I have no idea what it's like to birth a child. I have no idea what it's like to watch 4 kids at the same time by yourself. I have no idea. No clue. I can contextually try to grasp it, but I'm never going to get all the way there because that is never going to be my experience.
I think that's humility plus empathy. It's interesting. It's almost like admitting you can't empathize is a form of empathy.
It means you're trying. It means you're trying. Everybody, if you're watching or listening, you are on the top of one hill. You've made it to the top of a hill, but it doesn't mean you're at the top of the hill. There's another hill to climb. And when I work with a lot of early podcasters, so for me, I remember that. I remember what it's like to not be able to get guests. I remember what it's like not to be able to get on shows. I remember I'll never forget that. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that. I have so much empathy for that.
Why do you think you are so good at remembering that?
Because there's probably a part of me that doesn't feel like I deserve what we have. Not from a self-worth piece, but just again, all of this has been quite a surprise in many ways. Every time at 1413, every time I do the intro, it's like, how are we at 1413 episodes? But I don't want to say it every time because if you're listening, you'll get annoyed if I say, wow, I said it one of the last episodes. Oh, the climb to 1500. It's like, shut up, Kev. Everybody knows you say the intro at every episode. But we were going through the stuff the other day and it's 600. I've been on 600 other shows or something. When I say it, it doesn't always land until I think about it. It's like, wow, that's something.
I remember the first one.
Yes.
Rock Bottom Syndicate.
Well, the first one technically was yours.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube channel.
Channel. He put up quotes. My podcast. Yeah, my YouTube channel. Yep. Conversations change lives. Got to say the name.
Conversations change lives, yes.
When they're hyperconscious.
I think that's what it is for me. Because I know how challenging it's been. I don't expect you to...
Yeah.
I don't expect anybody else to do what we're doing. Not that I don't believe you can. There are people out there that can do what we're doing for sure, 100%. I just don't expect you to want to do it. Why would you want to? Why? Why would you want to? I think we're sickos. I know.
Yeah,
but it's not for everybody.
I remember I had the moment with Emilia and it was a morning. No. It was an evening. And I asked her, I said, how many things have you done today? And I knew she had a long day. I can always tell. Like a long, just day. I said, how many things have you done today that were not really difficult that you actually wanted to do? She looked at me laughing, like, 0. I knew. I was like, of course. All she does is delay gratification. She is a machine. And I do the same thing. So and I said, you ever wonder why we ever don't see our own value or more importantly, why we expect other people to be like that? You ever wonder that? I asked her that. She's like, because think about it. You know how hard it's been to become you. Can you possibly expect anyone else to ever do that? And she's like, no. I was like, see, we don't think from that frame though. And if you're out there listening, hopefully you can have that moment of gratitude for self of if I were to really break down the amount of effort it's taken for me to become this man, I mean, yeah, you couldn't possibly expect
right
that.
And then there's the capability of, it's different, right? Because not everybody's even humanly capable of that. That's the other piece.
That's something I don't fully know how to articulate either. And I don't fully understand either. But then there's the other side of this coin, and this is where I struggle because I'm holding a different duality than you are. There's the other side of the coin, which is, honestly, I'm 1/1,000,000th of what I should be, in my opinion. So it's hard for me not to project that onto other people. And I don't mean 1/1,000,000th. That was a little extreme. But I would say I'm at probably 7% of my true potential. I thought about that the other day. I'm probably at like 7% of what I'm truly capable of. And I think that probably comes off wrong because I'm not saying that I'm not proud of myself, but the compound effect of my effort, I'm only 34, I'm still at the beginning. So, I really do think of careers and your life's work being, most people, the best work they do in the world is usually in their 50s and 60s. And so I've been planning on that my whole life. So I'm not even close to, I don't feel like anything we're doing is even close to what we will do. But again, back to the empathy piece, I think that's why it's challenging to empathize, because I do believe people, this is what it is, Kev. I believe people are way more capable than they're demonstrating. Genuinely. It's hard for me not to be. If you were letting your potential slip, I would be disappointed, I think, a little bit.
Well, that's fair.
I would. Because you're capable of so much more. I think I've always been, we had a person in high school, and I'll keep this hypothetical. Okay, I'll keep this anonymous, rather. Kev, you'll know who I'm talking about. This person broke every running record that our school had. Mm-hmm. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Okay. I was not a good athlete. I was prepubescent, little. I couldn't believe. I was on the cross-country team. I couldn't keep up with this dude to save my life. He was world class. Could have been the Olympics. Amazing. Broke every record at every track we went to for every long distance race. The mile, the 2 mile, the 800, everything. 300, crushed everybody at everything. He could have gone to school at any college he wants with a free ride. And back then for me, it's like, I don't even know if I'm going to go to college because I don't have any money. So for me, it's like, I can't believe you could squander that. Like, why would you squander that? That's such a gift. Now, who am I to project myself onto him? Maybe that's not what he wants. But at the end of the day, he didn't train that hard. In my honest opinion, he was pretty lazy. And I don't think he did much. Still to this day, I think that in some ways he has squandered his potential. And that is my honest truth. And as harsh as that might sound, I think that's why I struggle with empathy at times, is because I believe in people so damn much. I believe in people so much. So it's hard for me not to see wasted potential. And that's true for me too. But again, back to empathy, I think that's why you're so different in this. Because you aren't expecting people to grow every day for the rest of their life. I want to live in a world where everyone does grow every day for the rest of their life. That doesn't mean that they're gonna, and that doesn't mean I can't empathize, but I think you and I are on like different ends of the coin here. I just believe in human potential, such a deep level. And I don't know, wherever that lands for everybody.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. My goal is, if you're watching or listening, think of someone. What do you think of when you look at people who aren't growing to the degree you are? Like, what's the natural tendency? Is it, wow, that person is insert thing here? I used to have that. There was a part of me that used to put my standards on other people. Like, how I said this when I was talking to this person. I said it was just the 4th of July, and I had a moment where I would look on social, and everybody's away at the beach doing their thing, and I was at your house. You and I were recording on the 4th of July because our equipment was jeffed. And I said the old me would have said, oh, they're losing momentum, and that's the truth, right? They're not maximizing their potential to the level that they could, but they probably don't want to. Okay, you do you. I understand. Of course you don't want to. There's a reason it's a holiday. There's a reason nobody works on, not nobody. There's a reason most people don't work on holidays. That's the way it's set up. That's the way it is. So when I see that, it's just, my perspective now is I completely understand. Now, it doesn't mean you can't want better. It doesn't mean I don't want better for these people. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that I understand. I remember what it was like to not have any belief in myself and have no idea where to start. And I remember that. And I think there's a part of me that knows if you weren't there, it would be different. I don't know in what way, but I've had a mentor every day for the last 6 years. I haven't had to pay a dime. I mean, I paid with pieces of my life, obviously, but that was very much a coincidence. I said the right thing. I said the right lies at the right times, and you believed me. And here we are, 6 years later. We got a business. I've been running that system forever. But I think that's why I have empathy. Because what if you didn't pick me? What would have happened to me? I don't know. Think about it. You're one mistake away from a completely different life. One mistake.
Yeah.
One fight outside of a bar where you knock somebody out and they crack their head on the pavement and die and you go to jail. That's one decision. One bad decision in one moment of weakness under the influence of one substance.
Yeah.
Now again, that's very extreme and I'm not, but I'm starting to have an understanding of how one thing turns into five things that turns into where somebody is today. And then there's also that piece of me that I work with early podcasters all the time. Most of them aren't going to be us. They don't want to be us. And if I want them to be us more than they want to be us, they're not going to stay with me for very long. Because that's not what they want. And I'm not saying they're not capable. Some of them are not capable. But some of them are. Some of them are capable. Definitely. I work with some very capable humans. But I also work with people who they're not cut out to do what we're doing the way we're doing it. That's okay. Doesn't mean they can't be successful in their own light. I try to hold that perspective because going back to the ideal versus realistic, what's realistic for you and I and what's ideal for you and I might seem impossible for somebody else, or what's realistic or ideal for somebody else might be completely different for us. I'm just really trying to sit with that more now than ever.
Hello, my name is Eddie Pinero. I'm the founder of Your World Within, and I wanted to take a second and just express how valuable working with Alan has been. His ability to help me create clarity and maintain focus on my big picture goals has been huge. He's been a huge asset with the roadmap as well. The day-to-day things, the little things that we sometimes overlook. I think anyone looking to, grow themselves, grow a business or both, would truly benefit from having Alan as an ally along the way. Again, great mind, but more importantly, solid dude.
I think one of the reasons I struggle to articulate how I feel on episodes like this is because I think I'm scared to share the truth that I have, which is I don't know how much I can empathize with not believing in myself.
Right. That's fair. Fair.
And that's scary to share because that's a big piece of the puzzle that I don't really know what it's like not to have. I have had moments of self-doubt that were brutal. They were so bad. I remember there was this one short time in my life I was with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and she is a very beautiful, supermodel-esque, gorgeous human. And I remember I was so insecure that I was like so scared to lose her. And I remember there was like a week where I was so vulnerable and so scared, and I even got to the point where I couldn't compliment her because I was so scared. And for me, that's the closest to self-doubt I can relate. Don't get me wrong, there have been bouts of that, but it's never lasted more than a week. I remember one time I was sitting by the lake with one of my friends, and I said, I just don't feel like me. And what I was really sharing is I'm doubting myself all the time. I feel so doubtful. It doesn't feel like me. And he even said, yeah, this is very unlike you. It's like without self-belief, I don't feel like you can, I don't know, it's not the same life. Because you've been on both ends. This other end is amazing. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's why I have empathy, I think.
I think that's one of the reasons I struggle with it. It doesn't mean I can't have empathy. It doesn't mean I don't have empathy. I mean, I'm gunning for everybody to chase their dreams and become better and have the best life they can possibly have. And You will never find evidence to the contrary of me trying to help people grow towards their dreams and achieve their goals. That is what my whole life's been about.
Yeah.
But I do struggle when people are squandering their potential.
Mm.
And I told Emilia that. I said, wasted potential has always bothered me. Always has. Always. Now, I said, but the truth is, it bothers me in myself too. It's not like I'm just projecting on everyone else. It bothers me in me. And I think to some degree, and hopefully this is a next level nugget that we didn't expect here, that means it's my calling. If it bothers me, that means it's like the environment bothers Emilia, like the fact that we're ruining the earth. It bothers her. And I said, sweetheart, it's supposed to bother you. It's part of your calling. You know? It's supposed to bother me when people squander their potential. That's who I was born to be. That's who I was born. I am helping people maximize their potential. Of course, when people are squandering it, I'm going to be bothered. Yeah. Just like it bothers you when people get bullied.
Definitely.
You know, that's part of your purpose. That's part of your calling. And I think that if we can tap into that emotions, the emotions of how upset you were about the kitten, you know, it's like Emilia and I are thinking like, okay, charity, how can we save more cats? All that kind of stuff. Now that's more connected to her purpose than mine, but it's because it gets in your heart. And so I don't know how that connects to empathy, but I do know that whatever you struggle to empathize with, is probably your gift. Mm. I mean, what do you struggle to empathize with? There's got to be something.
What do I struggle to empathize with?
Like, what frustrates you about people or the world?
Arrogance.
There you go. Humility is your gift, then.
I like to think so. I try.
But, like, arrogance frustrates you. Do you empathize with arrogant people that hurt others? Mm-mm. You don't empathize with that. You're not supposed to, I think. Yeah, you can't. That's somewhat what I feel like.
That's fair.
A little bit with people who are squandering their potential because their kids and their kids, they're all, you know, I grew up in an environment with no personal development. I'm not going to say very little. I grew up in an environment with zero personal development, and it hurt me and my loved ones. And there's something to learn here. If there's anything you struggle to empathize with, I can promise you it's connected to your calling in some way. And it's not, you can tell even in this conversation, it's not from a place of hate.
No.
It's not from a place of how dare the person we talked about earlier. It's not how dare they're not deserving of life. None of that. No. I actually would love to help that person.
It just doesn't make sense to you.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
To me, it's like, oh my God, you could have.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been anything you wanted, you know, and how could you possibly squander that? But again, that's my calling. So of course I'm going to feel that way, you know.
We call it the trampoline. It's when something just, you cannot get it. You just do not understand. We say trampoline. It just bounces off. It just bounces off. There are certain things where I'll say it and Alan's like, I do trampoline. It just bounces off. It doesn't land. And there's certain things he said to me. But it lands for me because I've been it. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to doubt myself before every speech. I'm convinced that is one of my purposes. One of my purposes is to be the guy who just never believed in himself, who teaches other people who don't have 10 out of 10 belief in themselves how to actually believe in themselves.
Which is why when I send you a speech I sent Kevin a speech by Tom Bilyeu, and Kev said, I'm telling you, he had level 10 self-belief. And I never even noticed. To me, it was like, I thought he was doubting himself way too much.
No, this was the tell. He either sat outside his professor's classroom every day and offered to take him to lunch or something, ended up taking him to lunch, and that's not something somebody who doubts themselves does. That's movie shit. I'm watching Suits right now, and Suits is just, everybody has 10 out of 10 belief in themselves in that show. It's wild. And they all do stuff like that. They wait outside of the judge and they bribe him with, money or whatever, tickets to the opera, whatever it may be. They all have 10 out of 10 belief in themselves, but that's why they have the job they have. That's why they're the most successful lawyers in New York.
Well, then you have a unique opportunity to get places, to have a platform to share with people. I mean, Kevin's the reason why we talk about self-belief so much. I didn't even know I actually am alarmed at how few people talk about it in the industry. I know why. The people who end up successful at the highest levels have level 10 self-belief, and they have no idea other people don't. And one of the reasons why is because a lot of people are faking it. Real talk, a lot of people are faking self-belief. You included. You used to, pretend you had high self-belief when you were around other people.
If you listen back to the old episodes, I heard something the other day and I couldn't even listen. It's just there's ego there. Not negative, I'm better than everybody else ego. It's like I need to puff myself up in order to actually feel like I belong where I am. The imposter syndrome, I need to overcome the imposter syndrome with putting walls up ego is what it was.
Back then when you interviewed me, I know we got to jump.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've been, who knows? It's been hours, days.
Well, we started at 9, so I think it's like a half hour. Plus, you also left for a quick minute.
I had to run away.
You had to. When you first interviewed me, last question, I didn't know you weren't confident.
I don't know if I was confident enough to set up my podcast stuff and interview you and then put it on the internet. I think there was a level of confidence there.
But not what you were portraying.
Probably not.
I think that has been a big blind spot for me because to me it looks the same as the way I feel.
Right.
And I've come to understand in my wiser years of my 30s that most people think they believe in themselves more than they really do, or they think they believe in themselves less than they really do. But either way, they usually hide that in public because I think from a primitive perspective, if you portray low self-belief and vulnerability when you feel weak, you most likely are in danger to be bullied or picked on. Or it's like when we were kids, when the weakest kid on the basketball court or on the football field always got picked on, I think it's still kind of that. And again, I'm still trying to figure all this out, but I would say very few people have level 10 self-belief and their actions actually match that behind the scenes. That's been a fascinating study for sure.
What a deep episode. Again, you never know. You never know where this is going to go. Let me see here. Last thing. It's already a long episode, but I wanted to add this to it. I think I said this on a podcast where when I met my dad, so quick, I didn't know my dad. I didn't meet my dad until I was 27. And I knew him when I was younger. I saw him when I was younger, but I wasn't old enough to know this is my father. I didn't know. When I saw him and I saw how unevolved he was, for lack of better phrasing, instead of getting mad at him, I had empathy for that. That's where I went. Not right away. But it was pretty quick. Pretty quickly after seeing him, it was a shift of, oh my goodness. Yeah, you haven't grown at all. You're kind of a big child. I have empathy for the fact that I kind of in a way understand why you weren't around. I do. It makes sense. You weren't capable. You weren't capable of getting your own life together. Never mind helping me with mine. Of course you weren't around. Of course. I have empathy for that. And then empathy led to forgiveness. Yeah, okay. Now it makes sense. Now again, it took 27 years and I like to think of myself as a fairly mature man, and I've worked on myself a lot, but it started with me empathizing with the fact that
is there no part of you that wonders why he didn't take a little more responsibility and do something better?
No. It didn't happen. It could have, but a lot of things could have happened, right? No. Because it was hard. He chose hard in other ways. In going against the law and getting arrested and doing whatever else he did.
Do you think he has self-belief?
No. I think he used to, based on the stories I've heard. But then again, it could be delusional self-belief. I don't know.
Or ego or whatever.
I'm sure there was ego, but
that would be hard for me because I think I try to take such responsibility for my own life. Like if Amelia and I were to have a child, I would do whatever I need to do to become whatever I need to become to do what's best. But again, maybe, and I know that you said this to me one time and I'll never forget it. It was you're just really smart. It's not that other people aren't smart, you know? You're just really smart, and I appreciate it. And it's just hard to think from that frame because I don't walk around thinking I'm so smart, you know? I mean, I do know it intellectually, but it's just hard to give yourself that, I guess. So maybe I'm just really responsible. I don't consider myself that responsible, but I guess I'm pretty responsible in comparison to, like, you know, your dad or whoever you compare it to. But
yeah,
maybe
you're the
that's the
CEO
self-worth
of a global business. I would say you're pretty responsible. Yeah.
Fair.
Maybe you're not as responsible as you need to be to get to where we're going. It doesn't mean you're not responsible.
Definitely not.
It doesn't mean you're not. It doesn't mean you're not on the higher end. This is good for the listeners. This is for the listeners. Okay. If you're 7% to 100, it doesn't mean your 7% isn't higher than 80%. And if you're same for you, if you're out there, just because you're okay, how about this? Maybe you just started your side hustle, dream chasing, whatever that means. Just because you're 1% to accomplishing your dream doesn't mean somebody else who isn't dream chasing isn't 10% to their goals. Their goals just might be smaller.
Yeah. Definitely.
And if they are, everything looks a little bit different. I
Definitely.
had to have this, Alan. I had to have this because nobody really wants a podcast like we do. Again, when I say nobody, I mean a very small statistical amount of humans. But of course not. Most of the people we met that were podcasters are not going to do what we're doing, and that's okay. I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what their dreams are.
I know.
But on the other end of that too, and this, if they aren't taking level 10 responsibility, they can't expect level 10 results. And that, I do think that some people say they want that house on the beach or that beautiful body, but they aren't also taking the responsibility necessary to actually eventually create that. And I think that there's usually a disconnect between those two, but that's also growing up. I mean, I didn't know. If I had known how much effort it was going to take, I learned over time as we went on. I knew it would be difficult. I did not know it would be this challenging. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely challenging in different ways than I expected. So at the end of the day, it's all a growth journey. You don't know what you don't know, but you're going off what you think you know. And then years later, I wrote this on a blog that I'm going to talk about. But I said it, when I look back at me in high school, I thought I knew a lot. And I did compared to other high schoolers, but I don't know anything compared to what I know now. And in 5 years from now, I'm going to feel the same way. You know, you and I look back at episode 200 and it's so fascinating. We were like intelligent, hardworking people, you know, with fairly decent self-education. But yet in comparison to us now, it's alarming, isn't it? But that's life, right? It's all relative. It's all relative to that's what empathy is too.
That's why I have empathy for somebody who's at episode 200 because they might not want to get to episode 1400. That's why.
Fair. Right.
That's why.
Well, I would say this has been eye-opening for me, but in a good way.
Same.
Yeah. The good little drive to 5 for you and I.
Yeah,
you get both sides of the coin with Kev and I. It's good.
Yeah. Well, and I want to make sure that when Alan says he doesn't or he struggles to have empathy, and you already said it, but I just want to reiterate it. It's not from I don't want to have empathy. It's I just don't understand what that's like because Alan's always been hyper-driven and maximizing potential. We had a conversation earlier, and we gave 1% feedback to each other. And he's like, "What do I got for you, Kev? What do I got for you?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, man. I feel like you were a little sad that you weren't able to watch UFC on Saturday." And I was like, "No, dude, I wasn't really. I was just teasing. I said that on the podcast because it was funny. It wasn't a big deal. The truth is, you have a full day Saturday. God forbid I miss 45 minutes of UFC at noon on a Saturday as a business owner." So I wanted to throw that in there. It was a pleasant treat to be able to sit down at noon and watch a little bit of UFC before you and I recorded, but my expectations are not that I'm going to be able to watch the nooner UFCs for the rest of my life. So I want to make sure I put that out there.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. What's your next level nugget?
My next level nugget. Everybody's climbing their own personal, unique mountain. Just because they're at the first base camp and your base camp is different doesn't mean they're not struggling at the level you are. Everybody's capabilities are different. To some people, Mount Everest is easy. They've done it. To other people, Mount Everest is impossible. Not impossible. It would be the most challenging thing they've ever done. But they have their own personal mountain where they're at the first base camp. They're saying, I don't know if I can get to the top of this thing. I don't know if I can get to the top of this thing. We all have, choose your mountain. Choose your mountain, choose your journey. Let other people choose their mountains and choose their journeys. That's my next level nugget.
Definitely. My next level nugget is going to be, where do you struggle to empathize? There's something in that is your purpose. I cannot empathize with bullies. Cannot. There's no excuse. That means I'm supposed to not be a bully and call people out who are being mistreated. Call the bullies out. There's that. Whatever you struggle to empathize with, there's a reason, and I think underneath that is a deep belief in something. It's a belief in something. I believe so deeply in your potential, if you're listening, that I would have trouble empathizing with you not maximizing it. I know I would believe in you. I can promise you, if you get on the phone with me, I will believe in you more than other people do.
Definitely.
I will. I will. I might even believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Even if I'm wrong, I promise you it'll be beneficial. So I'm not selling you a coaching call right now. What I'm doing is, if you do struggle to empathize, there's probably something underneath that's aligned with your calling. Emilia sees someone littering, she cannot stand it. Sees someone not recycling, she cannot stand it. Sees someone hurt an animal, she cannot stand it. She couldn't stand the fact that we found these kittens on the side of the road, and that woman that I talked to was like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. Like, these are little kittens, they're all gonna die because of your neglect. There's something underneath that. She's supposed to help animals. There's something in there, and it's not a bad thing. I really don't think it's a bad thing, as long as you channel it properly. Obviously, you can go off the rails and, be holier than thou and say, this is the way the world needs to be, and you got to channel it right. But I do think there's something in there.
My goodness, what a deep episode! I did not know when we started this we were going to be doing a 40-some-odd minute episode. I did not expect that, but
same.
I'm grateful we did. This was a very you and I figuring out our beliefs and thoughts and feelings live.
A lot of those this week.
Yeah. I'm trying to bring the fire. Next Level Nation, I'm excited about many things at NLU. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but we have the next level. Are we going to call it the Dreamliner?
Oh, yeah. The next level Dreamliner.
The next level Dreamliner. So this is going to be, we're actually going to have a physical product.
Sounds like a boat.
It does sound like a boat.
Come join us on the next level Dreamliner. We're heading
captain ship on, swab the poop deck. We are going to have the next level Dreamliner, which is going to have a planner, and it's going to have a calendar, and there's going to be a thing for gratitudes. Just imagine all things NLU in a book, a planner, a thing for you to follow day in and day out. Right? I know a lot of us like to write things down, and we like physical things. We're going to give you one of those. When is it coming out? I don't know. In the near future. I'm super excited for it. The NLGD team, what can I do for you, sir?
January 1st, 2024.
That's when it's coming out?
Yeah, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The Next Level Graphic Design team
is
working on it. The CEO, the stuff. I know the money. That's it. I don't know anything else.
Well, we're going to need some money to get this off the ground here.
I'm sure we are.
Yeah.
We'll keep you informed, and I'm sure I want to do some sort of giveaway. We'll do some sort of giveaway when we're getting ready to launch, and we'll give some away.
Definitely.
To whatever. We'll do reviews or something, but I got my cat scratched me today. It's itchy. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. So we will continue to inform you. No links or anything yet because it doesn't exist, but I'm super excited about it, and I hope you are as well.
Also, speaking of Next Level Dreamliner, I wrote an article that is in perfect reference to the term Dreamliner. It's called Dreamlining. I actually called it Objective Streamlining, and then Kevin was like, Alan, that name's terrible.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say that. Yeah. You didn't say that. You said, Alan, have you ever considered Dreamlining instead of Objective Streamlining? And I was like, no, I hadn't. Let's do it. Fast forward. I wrote an article called How to Streamline Your Dreams. The link will be in the show notes. This is blog number 6. I don't know why I keep calling it an article. It's a blog. Blog number 6, How to Streamline Your Dreams. Check that out. And that is a little teaser for what you can expect from the Next Level Dreamliner. The yacht cruise to Costa Rica.
Tomorrow for episode number 1414, how your crutches are holding you back. We did episodes about this a long time ago, where the Instagram filters and the pictures where you can paint on abs and stuff like that. And there's just so many new ones coming out. I wanted to do an episode on that. Yeah, again, heart driven but no BS. That's what that episode is going to be. I know we've been doing some very deep ones this week. That's going to be a gentle kick in the butt as well, but that is why you listen to us. So that will be tomorrow on a happy Monday. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep on empathizing. Next Level Nation.